Hi, guys. Hello, everyone. Hi. Let's see if I can get this situated so I can look at that easier. How is everyone? Welcome. I hope you guys are having a good afternoon. Thank you for bearing with me. It's been, I had to get a bunch of things together. If you are new to my channel, Wednesdays or Fridays, I generally upload throughout the week. This has been an unusual week because I've been doing a lot more lives. Sometimes it's easier to do a lot of information in a live stream than it is to do in a single, one video that's an upload. And on Fridays, I generally don't like sitting and editing. It's kind of like my day off from the gruelingness of filming and then editing and then thumbnails and then repeat. It can get to be a lot. And so on Fridays, what I like to do is go live and do a longer live stream and talk about all the things that are going on. And in this live stream, what I want to cover is a number of different topics. So there's been a lot that's been happening, and it's in all kinds of different directions. And there's a lot that I want to unpack. And so what I was thinking about is, given the magnitude of what we're looking at, this would also be a really good opportunity to help newcomers better understand the Institute and Basic Life Principles. I think what you find at this channel is different because I have been covering this group for years, and I understand a lot of the workings here, and I understand a lot of what's at play when you talk about this group and how they manage things and how they cope with things and what they deal with and who's in the group and all of those aspects. And I think with the microscope under Josh Duggar, it gives a very good understanding of really the whole context of where he's coming from. So I have been looking at a lot of different things today, and I was thinking about there's a bunch of things I want to cover. So first of all, the reason why I was late was because when I went live the other day and I was trying to give you the timeline of what happened in the investigation, I realized that so in the courtroom, for instance, we are not allowed to take photos and we're not allowed to record. So what I wanted to do was, I had taken a lot of notes, like a lot. And so what I wanted to do was take the notes that I had taken while I was listening into the courtroom, just to show you the timeline that they had provided as evidence in the hearing. And it helps you kind of understand what the forensics was looking at when they were investigating Josh, so that you can see kind of why the state or the federal case is pretty strong against him. And I'll apologize because when I was taking notes, I had to scribble really fast because obviously we weren't allowed to record. And so I had to write down as quickly as I saw. So some of it might not be exact, but it should be giving you an understanding of what it all looks like. Another thing that I want to talk about today is how Duggartown is responding to the allegations that came out of that hearing, because the hearing itself has really reverberated and it's really split everything up. Yes, it was virtual. The hearing was virtual. So on the screen, was the evidence. And so all I was doing was taking notes and writing down so I could remember, so I could report. And if I take sips of water, I do apologize. I have the window open and it's allergy season. Okay, so we're going to start off, and then I want to talk about what's going on in Duggartown. There's been a lot of really crazy conspiracies coming out, and the one that I heard last night was ridiculous, but will kind of give you an understanding of what we're looking at from that. And then, I don't know. And then there's some stuff some videos I found. So the Institute and Basic Life Principles allows you to purchase media from them. And for your pleasure, I downloaded a couple videos, which I paid for. I had to contribute to the cult, but I wanted to give you some information that they that's available if you want to buy it, which gives you a side of some of these people that is not put out as publicly. And that includes stuff from Gil Bates, who is from Bringing Up Bates. And I also want to talk about the Bates because even though people don't want to bring the Bates into this, they are a part of the IBLP and Gil is on the board. And so it's important that we talk about sort of their connection into all of this. All right, so the first thing that we're going to do today is we're going to go through Josh Duggar was released. So yesterday, he was released from the clink. There's a lot. I have so many screenshots we have to go through today. So he walked out and let me just show you. He walked out of the clinker and he had, I don't even know, were his eyes smiling? I'm not sure. There he is walking out of the clinker. I think I grabbed these from Daily Mail, maybe. I can't recall. Wearing his polo shirt and his mask. I'm sure it's like the only time he's ever worn a mask. So he was released yesterday afternoon, and he actually is being released to Maria and LeCount Reber. Okay. And they are from the Caldwell's church that the Duggars have known for years. Now, I did talk to someone who knows the Caldwells and the Duggars, and I said, how well do they know the Rebers? And it was from their understanding that they're not like super close to the Rebers at all. It just so happens that they don't have any minor children and like are one of the few families they happen to know that don't have minor children. And that the dad is involved in prison ministry. And he has a church that he's a pastor at. And that's really about it. And he'll be staying with them. They don't have internet at their home. They live kind of out in the boonies, I'm told, and they have kind of two places that they live, and that this house has sort of like a mother-in-law suite that he can stay in, I guess. And then, on live. And then, let's talk about, so he's out. He's out. Here, I found it. I was waiting to find this. Give me 1 second. He's out and he was released yesterday and now under home confinement, which means that he will have to wear an ankle bracelet and he can't leave this person's house. And it's wild to me because I'm like, can't believe that they somehow convinced someone to do this for them, particularly someone that isn't particularly close with the Duggars. This is not a friend or this couple is not someone that typically hangs out with the Duggars. They don't spend a lot of time with the Duggars. They're not like intimately involved in their lives. They're not someone that's like invited over to the Duggars house a lot. So it's an interesting choice, I guess, in a way. Okay, next we are going to talk about this timeline because I want to show you. Now I wrote this out. Now it has some like stuff on here that, you know, I don't know. Let me show you. So I created this. I wrote this from my notes, and here is what the timeline looked like. All right. So they basically say that on May 13th of 2019, a Linux partition had been created with the last 4 digits of the password being the same as Josh Duggar's personal password that he used for his banking and his family Instagram account. I think if you guys have any questions about whether or not Josh Duggar was posting on Instagram, I think it's pretty clear that he had access to the family account. So I would assume when they're talking about like the family Instagram, they must be talking about Anna Duggar's account, because he and Anna don't have like a joint family account. So I'm assuming that when they're talking about the family account, they're talking about Anna's Instagram. They also say that the Tor browser was installed on the partition side of the HP. So basically what this partition does is it takes a computer's hard drive and it splits it into two separate computers, and they cannot communicate with each other. And what happens on the Linux partition side is secure, and it doesn't communicate with the side that has all of his business stuff on it. So they cannot be like mixed. So he can do things without the business figuring out. And on the business side, they had installed a program called Covenant Eyes, which is this anti-P word thing that is an accountability thing for men that and women that look at P stuff online, and it sends reports to their accountability partner that tells them whether or not their loved one is looking at inappropriate things online that they deem inappropriate. So he was doing this not only to hide it so it wasn't visible to the business, and then he was also doing it to prevent Anna from knowing what he was doing. So he was taking steps to make himself as anonymous as possible. Then they said that on May 14th, he took a photo of a car lot. The geolocator was used to place the iPhone at the car lot, and they used the geolocator a lot. They say that the iPhone at 420 was used to take a picture of the screen, the home screen of his HP desktop. And so the HP desktop was like in this sort of metal toll booth type building. It was a black desktop that had like a black flat screen, and the home screen image was a photo. And you've probably seen the photo of Josh and Anna. I think they're at like the zoo, and it's Josh and Anna with the kids, and they blacked out a photo. They blacked it out around Anna and the kids. So he takes a photo of the home screen of the computer. I don't know why. At 4:49, a text message was sent from his iPhone, which sent, "I got stuck here. I'm still not free yet." And then at 4:48, the Tor browser is used to download images of essay. And this was not specified to be of kids. This was graphic stuff of essay, like severe stuff, not P stuff, essay stuff. And I believe it was like adults. And then they say at 5:28 to 5:38, there's user access on BitTorrent. And that's like a peer-to-peer file sharing program. And it says that the user then downloaded two movies. At 5:41 to 5:46, the user accesses the browser file sharing again. At 5:42, a Little Rock officer in Arkansas that's working on a joint task force with the Department of Homeland Security that's running surveillance on areas gets alerted that someone in Springdale with an IP address is downloading large files of known and hashed content. So they use a program where it was developed, I can't even remember when it was developed, 2014 or 2015. And it's a national database. And in the database, basically what it does is it allows it to track different content. So if there is a video that is known, very well known, and it's very graphic, they will apply what's like a digital hash to it. And then that hash is like a marker that allows that video to be tracked. And anywhere that goes, they can see who's downloading and where it's coming from. So it allows them to track the data, but it doesn't tell you who it's going to. They only have an IP address, and it was pinging in Springdale, but they didn't know who it belonged to. And then at 5:42, he sends a MacBook message, and it says, I have your Versa down here for Carlin, by the way, and I'm at my car lot. And this was on May 14th, 2019. And a Versa, I'm told, is a car. So maybe they were looking, maybe he had Carlin Bates' car. I'm not sure. I know Carlin did buy a car from them, but it was before this. So Carlin and Evan were down there, I think, in March to buy an SUV. And I don't know if they bought another car in May. but they did buy a car from the Duggars in March, but not this in May. So I'm not clear about what's going on here, but the Bates were mentioned in court. And so that's kind of why we brought up the Bates on my Instagram. Okay. Then let me just show you the next one. I just want to show you guys. I like to make graphs. I felt so disorganized the other day. So I thought this would be easier. Yeah, Carlin bought an Explorer, but she bought that in March. This was in May. Okay, so she bought the car like 132 weeks ago. I did some math equations, and this would, if you do math here, from May 7th, which is today, to May 14th, it's 107 weeks. So, and 107 weeks ago, they were talking about a Versa. They bought an SUV in March, just to clarify, I think. I don't know. No. Maybe. No, maybe it was this during it. Anyway, maybe they went to look at a Versa. No, I'm sorry. Maybe they did look at a Versa and they ended up getting an SUV. But I don't believe that they bought it from Josh. And it's funny because I talked to people and nobody in the family or some of their friends didn't even know Josh had this lot. So anyways, on May 15th, he sends a text. It should say text, not test. And I'm at the car lot at 11:30 a.m. He goes there's at the computer so 11:15, he's texting people, I'm at the car lot. At 11:30 a.m., he's at the desk and he's bookmarking the about section on Tor, and that's on the partition side of the HP computer. At 11:35 through 11:41, there's 3 downloads done of CSAM. At 3:20 p.m., his iPhone geolocates again at the car lot. At 3:39, a photo is taken of a vehicle that got into an accident right outside of his car lot. HSI confirmed with state troopers that this accident occurred at the intersection. So they knew that he was there. He's taking a photo of an accident. The accident's confirmed by police. 3:35, he sends a text message to someone that says, "Be praying for Mark." Not sure if that's the person that's involved in the car accident. And then at 5:08, he sends another text message that says, "I'm here." At 5:22, via the BitTorrent file share, he downloads a file called Play Toy Suite. At 5:25, the Daisy's Destruction is downloaded. And this is a known series of CSAM that contains 18-month-olds to 12-year-olds. It's the top 5 worst content examined in 1,000 cases. And I actually did some research for you guys on the DD stuff. And this was produced by a man named Peter Scully. He was at the time living in the Philippines. And what Peter Scully was doing back in that time was he had this dark web, like video streaming, like social media site. And he was creating content and kind of on demand and by request. And he was making films of the different children that he and his girlfriends got from the streets. So what they would do is they would go out into the street and they would find kids that were homeless, that were hungry in the Philippines, in a very poor part of the Philippines, and bring them there. And one of the girls, an 11-year-old, was actually handed her life, and she had to dig her own grave. That was filmed. And the one video in particular that was the worst was called Daisy's the DD, and it contained an 18-month-old. If you want to learn more about it, you can Google. His name is Peter Scully, Scully. And 60 Minutes in Australia actually did a 24-minute like blip about it back in 2016 when he got caught. He had been on the run for 4 years. And unfortunately, at the time they were downloading these files people were being charged $10,000 to stream them. I am not aware if like what it would cost now to get these, but clearly the content is still out there and they're trying to get it off and out because it's so horrific. And he's serving life in prison. And the president of the Philippines actually wanted to have this guy, they wanted to reinstate the death penalty for Peter. Okay, so then he says at 5:25, he goes to the HP website Home Advisor. So think of it this way. On one side, he's downloading the DD on torrent, and then he flips over to the other side on the same computer, right? So on the partition side, DD is being downloaded. On the other side, he flips over to Home Advisor, and he puts the username Joshua is auto-filled and entered, and then it opens up, and he goes to a review, which is for a construction company. So he's typing in a review for a construction company while on the other side, this really vile stuff is being downloaded. And he leaves a review for the construction company. HSI contacts the construction company, who confirms that Josh and Anna had work done by this company, and the contractor had asked Josh to write a review for him and leave it for him on Home Advisor. At 5:30, DD is downloaded. At 5:32, another file called Asi, Me, Mommy, Linda is downloaded. Another file called Marissa is downloaded. And just so you guys know, the children's names that are on here are not the names of the children. So Daisy is not her name. It's like a pseudonym. Like the names that are here are not like the actual names of the children. I should note that all of the children that were involved in the DD stuff, all but one have been rescued. So that's, I guess, the best news in all of it is that the stuff related to that really bad content, those kids are safe, but those kids were trafficked into it. And so it's really ugly, like what he was looking at. It's the worst of the worst. And so at 5:48, he sends a text message that says, I'm still have customers here, no problem. He's like totally lying because he's there in the office downloading stuff. At 6:45, Little Rock downloads that the IP is downloading known hashed content. So again, they're alerted that he downloaded DD because DD is flagged as one of the worst things that you can have out there, okay? 6:45, download, the police in Little Rock are cued in again of what he's doing. 6:51, the iPhone takes a photo of 2 Post-it notes that are on the counter of the wholesale motor lot desk. The next day, at May 16th, he downloads another video at 11:20 a.m. and 11:35 a.m. Another photo is taken from his iPhone of his desk. So you can see that they've taken very meticulous steps to ensure that his geophone, his iPhone is pinging in that same area at the same time all this other stuff is happening. Okay, so next we have the final part of this, which I'll show you. And these were just notes from that same day. So it takes them a while. So basically what they say happens is they say that when they are notified, so the officer who gets notified in Little Rock puts together a file, identifies the IP address, and then because they can't determine who belongs to the IP, they then send over a request to the Department of Homeland Security to begin the investigation, which is sent over in June. And in June, they start looking at the case to figure out who is doing this. By October of 2019, they are able to determine that the IP address that is downloading it is assigned to a user by the name of Joshua Duggar. So the IP that was downloading all that stuff is owned by Joshua. And so they basically go and do a search. The first search, there's a home that's nearby that I think at the beginning, it didn't even occur to them that this could be happening at a car lot. They, I think, were trying to attach it to a home. And so they assumed that the IP was coming to this one house. And I don't believe it's a house that's owned by the Duggars at all. And they go to the house and the couple doesn't have Ozarks Go. And so they realize that it's not at that place. And then they send the undercover investigator to the car lot. And then it's through that conversation when they go there that they realize the internet there is Ozarks Go. And then that's where they get the new search warrant. And they realize that Josh Duggar works there. And so they apply for the search warrant and then they go the next day. So on the day of the search, they did not tell Josh like why they were there at all. They just said that they were doing a search and seizure, and they didn't say, they just said that they were there for electronics. Now, mind you, when you're there and it's Homeland Security, it could be anything. They do a wide variety of criminal investigations, including like they do handle like cars. So if you are trafficking parts or trafficking like cars between the borders, that can fall underneath the Department of Homeland Security. So it's pretty innocuous what they were doing there. There was no indication that they were there specifically for that. And going to a business and getting electronics could be for financial reasons, could be for a lot of different things. They provided no indication at all. So they say that spontaneously after they do this, Josh literally says to them, "What is this about? Is someone downloading CP?" They told him nothing. Nothing. So he's read his Miranda rights at that point. He tells them that he wants to, he says that he'll speak to them. He admits to owning the HP laptop, the MacBook, and the iPhone, but he tells them that they also, his family members have access to this too. The home screen of the computer was his family with Anna. They asked if he was familiar with peer-to-peer file sharing, which is what he was using through BitTorrent, and he said he was. He refused to answer any questions, I think, about whether or not he saw anyone potentially downloading anything onto his computer, or whether or not he was familiar with the dark web. So that's kind of how the investigation timeline went, and that's kind of like the strength of the case. So the fact that the reason why the charges are so severe is because of the stuff with the DD. So that content is considered the highest level of offense when it comes to these types of cases, and based in the sentencing is determined on the age of the child. And because one of the children that is contained in all of this was a toddler, that's why one of the charges carries a 20-year term. So that alone is really the crux of all of it. It's because and people were like, well, did he start doing this on the same day? And I'm sitting here thinking, like, I wonder if he was doing BitTorrent on the outside of the web, right, out of the dark web. But he had to have been communicating with people well enough to know exactly what he was looking for, because once he got in there, he was able to get exactly what he needed. He was able to go and get to the boards where all of this stuff was available. So clearly this was not someone that was inexperienced. So I don't know if he was doing this on other content. They did say that when they did a forensic sweep of the computer, there was 200 so there was 65 like images and videos that had not been deleted on his computer. And then there was 200 that were sitting in the unallocated files, meaning at some point he had downloaded all of this stuff, looked at it, saved it, and then he deleted it. And so they asked him, like, is it super common for someone that is looking at this material to delete it? And they said, yes, very common. So that's kind of the timeline with that. Okay. Is the court keeping a lot of things private at this point? So yes, when you go into his court case, there is a lot of stuff that's under seal, and it's because of the age of the children. So it's going to be a different case where when you go into Pacer, you're not going to be able to read everything. You're not going to be able to download everything. You're not going to be able to have access to everything because they want to protect the children involved and the sensitivity of this. The only thing that I can say from like my perspective of like sitting through that hearing for 4 hours is that I will hope that, and I can't pray. So I don't believe in God. If you want to pray, that's fine. But I really hope that a plea deal happens here, because I honestly can't imagine a jury like having to go through testimony and the material so that they see like and have a clear understanding of what was happening in the stuff that he was looking at, because I feel like that alone would be so traumatic. It would be traumatic to the jury, to witnesses that are watching, to the judge, to the state attorneys, to the defense attorney. It would just be so much for all of them. All right, so next up, I wanted to... Okay, so yeah, Jennifer says there won't be a trial. We can hope not. It looks like their discovery is due, I think, sometime this week. And then, the date of the trial is scheduled for July 6th, but I always feel like trials get pushed out. And I've rarely ever seen a trial like have the same trial date be the date where the actual trial happens. According to the way that it's set up right now, they are giving him until July 2nd to change his plea. And the judge was like, I don't know, you guys, the judge is a brand new judge. And I was shocked. I was shocked that she literally said to him, like, I don't know that you're not a danger, but I'm going to give you a chance. Don't make me regret this. Anyways, she was just appointed to this circuit and on May 1st. So she had been working, I think, on an interim basis, and she was now assigned to an 8-year term. I don't know how long according to her LinkedIn profile, she just became a judge in April of 2021. So and then she had been doing consulting and legal work as a lawyer before that. All right. So the next thing was how is Duggartown responding? So yesterday I got a message from one of my sources who let me know that there is this really wild conspiracy happening right now in the Duggartown split. So what I'm told is about 50% of the people believe that he's guilty. They think that based on the evidence and what has come out of that hearing, there's just no way that Josh couldn't have done this. And then there's this other percentage of people who believe this conspiracy, which is being pushed. And this is what it is. Remember I told you it was related to Biden. Well, it's weirder. It's actually weirder than that. They believe somehow that the federal government planted this evidence. And you have to put in the mindset of these people are not rational or logical, because this is ridiculous. They believe that the federal government planted this evidence on Josh's computer because Josh Duggar and the Duggar family are friends with the Huckabees, or they know the Huckabees. And because Sarah Huckabee is running for governor in the state of Arkansas, they planted this on Josh's computer so that it will make it so that Sarah Huckabee doesn't win her election. I'm just going to give you a few seconds to digest this because it's ridiculous. And I will point out to you the ridiculousness of this. And people believe this. They literally believe this. Now, this is why this is so ridiculous. First of all, the content was discovered on his computer in 2019. Sarah Huckabee did not announce that she was running for governor until sometime in 2020. At that point, they already had all of the evidence. They had been doing forensics work on the computer, and everything had been there. During the time that this would have been allegedly planted, Donald Trump was the president, Sarah Sanders was not even announcing that she was running for governor. And then there's this whole thing of like, that's a really stupid thing, because if they wanted to like plant something, why wouldn't they just put it on Sarah's computer? Biden also was not the president in 2019, but I think I already said that because Trump was president. Biden does not care. Now, the initiative that they used is called Project Something or Other, was started, I believe, in 2010. And it has been an ongoing joint program between 50 different law enforcement agencies that all work collaboratively to end child exploitation online. And so this is not a single administration that runs this program. It's been an ongoing program for years. And there's really, like, it's ridiculous. Yeah, I can't even. Exactly. I can't even. So they say that the governor or the government planted evidence, and they literally believe this. I can't even. Okay. So next up, we have, let me see. There's so much to unpack here today. All right. TLC, have they responded? They haven't. There's no response from TLC, which is really disturbing. So some Duggar fans are super angry about that, and they have started a change.org petition called Deleting All the Duggar Shows. Now, I think this actual petition has, let me actually tell you what the actual number here is. This petition currently has 18,000 signatures. I don't ever sign signatures. I don't ever sign these things, but I feel like, you know, if TLC gets enough, maybe they can't ignore this. So if you would like to sign the petition, basically what they want is to get this off the air. So there's the link if you want to sign the petition. There's 18,000 signatures, and I don't know if they actually give this to TLC or not, but it's in, I just linked it in the comments below. So you can sign, or, oops. Okay. Now, let me see. Sorry, I need to remove this. The next thing was, oh, this was the next thing I wanted to show you. Back in 2020, in the fall of 2020, this was actually going around on TikTok. And one of my longtime subscribers that lives in the area drove by to confirm that this was all there, and they did confirm that this is what was out there. So this was what was outside of the Duggar's house. The flags, the pictures of the flags were taken in October of 2020. It was in a TikTok. The pictures, I shared them on my Instagram. Pickles, the Facebook blogger, she shared them as well. I think I grabbed these specific photos. I didn't look through mine on my, I know they're on my Instagram, but I didn't dig through my archives because I have like thousands of posts on there. So I grabbed these specific photos off of Pickles' Facebook page, but, and the Trump 2020 was made by James. He did that in Milan. But it's interesting because the Duggars had not been known to have a lot of flags outside. And so in the middle of an investigation, they are putting up flags that are, the Don't Tread on Me is kind of this, it's a historic flag. And it dates back to the American Revolution. And it's kind of been the flag has been hijacked right now, and it kind of symbolizes for a lot the alt-right that are anti-government and very anti like establishment. And so they have the "Don't Tread on Me." They have stuff that's pro-guns, like "Come and Get Me." They have a Trump flag that has guns, about guns rights. And it's a lot of like, it feels almost like they're being, mind you, during this time, Josh is being monitored. He's under surveillance. And so they're surveying him. They're keeping eyes on him. They're keeping track of him. And this is kind of how the Duggars responded, by putting in their lawn Trump 2020, and then also putting up these really sort of like flags. Now, if you have these flags, I'm not talking to you. Don't get offended that I'm talking about these flags. I'm really just talking about the Duggars, and in the context of what was going on at the time, and that these types of flags had never been sort of seen outside the Duggars before. People were kind of shocked when they saw them, like, why do they have all of this stuff out there? What's with this sudden-ish interest with being armed and "Don't tread on me," that kind of thing. But if you think of it in this context, if the government is watching you and you don't want them to be watching you, you can put up a flag that says "Don't tread on me," right? And it's kind of a message to them. So there was that was happening in October of 2020. Well, thank you guys all for your super chats. I appreciate that. And yes, anything that you provide at this point is good, obviously. So then the next thing I wanted to show you was so some of you guys have been wondering about the Bates and their involvement in any of this and all of this, and if there's a connection, because the Bates family has been very, very quiet. They have not said anything. They have not denounced anything. They have not made a public statement about any of it. They have only just been like doing their own thing, posting like normal, ignoring all of this. And the reason why I want to bring up the Bates is because the Bates Gil Bates is on the board of directors of the Institute in Basic Life Principles. So I just want to share this with you, since there seems to be misinformation, and sometimes people think I make this stuff up, which I really have zero reason to lie here, you guys. But here is the Institute in Basic Life Principles. They have board of directors, and there's 3 people on the board. So I'm just showing you that this is where it came from. And I'll show you that under the board of directors, Gil Bates is listed. So there are 3 men that are the board of directors of the Institute in Basic Life Principles. They are Gil Bates. They are another man named Tim Lewandowski, and another guy named Pastor David York. And so when Bill Gothard was removed from this world after 34 women accused him of SA and everything, and SH, this 3-man group now is the leaders of the cult. And Gil is one of 3 men, so like 33%. Like what Gil does is he teaches and he's sort of in charge of marriage and, discipline, teaching parents how to discipline, teaching about, financial stuff. But if you look on there, it says they are close friends with Jim Bob Duggar. So the Duggars are very used very well in this world. So Gil Bates is a member of this world. And I want to show you guys a couple clips I found of this video of his that I think might interest you, because honestly, it might give you some understanding of how this group thinks of women and why this kind of stuff is consistently like swept under the rug. Because honestly, the way that they think of women is what actually perpetuates the kind of behavior by Josh and the lack of accountability. So he did this video called The Danger of the Sensual Woman. And he was doing this back in 2013. He is a prominent featured speaker, and he talks to the young men about key characteristics that they should not want in a woman. So this was one clip I found.
God has a plan. That's God's plan, but it's got to be done in God's protection, in God's ways. Getting 5 girls. Number 1, don't get involved in the girl that's a difficult girl. Samson got involved with some girls that were difficult girls. Stubborn, unteachable, lacking humility. How do they respond when they're corrected? You get around a girl, see how she responds to her parents correcting her, you can tell you what kind of girl she is. Don't get involved with a girl that's a difficult, stubborn-headed, opinionated, won't listen kind of girl. Does anybody know any girls like that? I can tell you about some. I've met them. You know, don't say it's your daughter. Raise your hand right there. But you know what? All of us can get off on that path if we're not careful. Don't get involved with a girl that's difficult. Number 2, don't get involved in a girl that's deceptive.
So his argument here is that a girl that has an opinion, a girl that is stubborn, a girl that has doesn't have humility, is not easily corrected. And when they talk about correction is generally corporal punishment when a parent uses correction. And so he's basically saying you don't want a girl that talks back to you, that has her own opinion, because she will not listen to your directions. She will not listen to your rules. Now, there's another clip that he gets into, and I think this is one about deception and how girls that are deceptive won't listen to the rules of their husband. And that's right. When a woman is married in this world, they are transferred from their parents to their husband, and they live under the rules of their husband. They don't have a say. They may have a say, but it's not the husband's, it's his rules. He has the final say in everything. So here's another sort of idea. This is just sort of their misogynistic views on women in general.
And we're going to get married anyway. It's okay. One day she'll think the rules you lay down might be too strict. If she thinks God's rules are too strict and her parents' rules are too strict, she'll probably think your rules are too strict too. And you'll be reaping what you sow. Number 3, not only difficult girls, they're just kind of set in their ways, unteachable, don't want anybody to tell them anything, don't want to listen to their parents. If they won't listen to their parents, don't think you're going to rescue them and they're going to listen to you. It's not going to happen. It's a pattern of life. They've started for 20 years now. Now, can people change? Sure they can. God can change all of us. But like Mr. Gothard says, you'd like to get a diamond that's almost getting pretty perfect before you marry him, instead of getting a piece of coal that's a big old block and will need a lot of work. Because you're going to suffer through it with him, okay? Number 1.
So he quotes Bill Gothard. Now, I should remind you, like, I should note that this was made in 2013 before Bill Gothard had left. But these rules are still pervasive. So you don't want a girl that is deceptive, that won't listen to your rules. If she won't listen to the rules of her husband, she's not going to listen to your rules. And I'm not lying when I say that women have to live under the rules of their husband. So if a husband makes a decision, she has to abide by it. It's not if, it's not and, it's not when, it's this is what you have to do. And let me see if I can find one other thing for you. I was actually like, that's how I was feeling today. I was like, what am I looking at? What is this? How can this possibly be? Here is another short clip. And then there's one at the very end of this whole video. So I'll just pull up the whole video. But this is what he's telling young men about what they should be looking for in a woman. Now, I'd like to invite Mr. Bates to my house, and I'll show him what an opinionated, unteachable, stubborn woman looks like, and we'll see how far he goes with me. Because if Gil Bates showed up in my house, he'd be getting a piece of my mind.
There's happening somewhere else. Finally, one day was searching on Facebook, which I am totally not for Facebook. I don't recommend getting one. Okay,
this is the hilarious thing, you guys. Gil Bates in 2013 is telling people that if women have access to Facebook, they will use this to actually try to contact people in their lives, which can help that woman then stumble because she's disloyal. So if a woman speaks ill about anyone, you can just assume she's going to cheat on you, and she's going to get a Facebook and use the Facebook to this. Now, the funny thing is that in 2013, he told people, don't have a Facebook. Today, all of his wife and all of his girls use Facebook and Instagram to constantly sell products. So if it benefits them financially, it's fine. You can use Facebook, but it's like, do as I say, not as I do. I don't know what's going on with Jennifer and why people are upset here.
You have more trouble than you can handle. If you have one, that's your choice. I highly discourage it. You got enough trouble keeping yourself right without a Facebook. But I'm going to tell you what happened. This girl never could be content. I'm telling you, this is a good husband. He come home every day for lunch and eat lunch with the family. Involved with the kids, taking places, involved, do Bible study, working with the church. These people love God. Seemed like everything's going great. This person never seemed to be content. Figured out Facebook one day, got on and found some old friends. Left her husband. Moved in with an old friend. You're talking about heartbreaking.
So anyways, so apparently if you use Facebook, caps in the Jessie Bear, don't worry about caps lock. I don't care if people use caps lock. It doesn't bother me. So please don't worry about caps lock. And I don't know what else is going on in this chat, but I am not, there's moderators for a reason. Please just do your best to, be cool with them. Sorry if you had a bad experience. Anyways, let's get on to the last one was
moved in with an old friend. Forgot he's doing something great with you. How many of you are experiencing that, young parents?
Okay, and then the last one was that you shouldn't get involved with a dirty girl, an immoral girl, a dirty girl. That's literally what he called women that don't want to follow purity standards, that won't dress modestly. He literally calls them dirty girls. It's so horrible.
Hey, I'm glad God did something in my life. He's changing our lives. But I'm going to tell you what, don't get involved with a girl that's already given over to immorality. It'll be something you're not careful. How do you put a price tag? The price tag of a high price, the hidden price tag of a sensual girl or a worldly relationship. It starts way back with not the kind of girl I married, the kind of person I am and what I'm looking for. Young people, I'm telling you. Facebook one day, got on and found some old.
Let me see if I can find out where he says it.
Don't get involved with a Delilah kind of girl, or for lack of a better word, a dirty kind of girl. A girl that's not moral. Now listen.
A dirty kind of girl. A girl that's not moral. That's what he said. I am a dirty girl. Anyone in the chat a dirty girl? Anyone in the chat a dirty girl? I'm a dirty girl. Whatever you guys are fighting about in the chat, can you just stop? Let's just not fight in chat. Let's have a good time. Let's be fanatic. Let's have so much fun. No more, who's a dirty girl? I'm a dirty girl. Please chat, move on from the argument. I'm a dirty girl. All right, so Gil Bates is not, you know, this fantastically nice Christian man. He thinks that if you have an opinion and if you are, you know, a dirty girl, you are, yeah. So, and then the last thing that I was thinking of doing here, we're getting to the hour mark. Dirty girl. Yay, dirty girl. I embrace the title dirty girl. Yes, we need a dirty girl emoji. I agree. I'm a nasty, stubborn, dirty, awful, terrible, dirty girl. So basically, they don't want you to have an opinion because they don't want you to talk back. They don't want you to speak negatively about anyone because what they want to control is what you say about your husband. So they don't want you to ever speak poorly about your husband because if you were to do that, you might learn that what your husband is doing is wrong. One of the rules, I want to just show this to you because this is one of the most ridiculous things they have on here, but this is for wives, okay? This is for wives that are in this cult and how they talk about beauty, and it's a woman's responsibility to maintain her beauty. So this comes directly from the cult. This says, godly women's main focus will not be on outward fashion and beauty trends, but rather on the timeliness, beauty of inner qualities such as faith, strength, joy, meekness, and love. They say, concentrate on godly character, develop a meek spirit by surrendering your personal rights and expectations to God's. So basically, you're not allowed to have desires that you want to have. So if you are upset, displeased, or angry with your husband about something and you want him to change something, that would be called an expectation. So you have to surrender your desires, wants, and needs to God. So then you can sincerely be thankful for things that are done for you. So if you have an expectation that, say, your husband should help around the house and he doesn't, that means that you're just being ungrateful. Develop a quiet spirit by overcoming fear and worry with the inward confidence. Maintain personal neatness in your appearance. Wear your clothes and hair in a way that honors your husband's preferences. As an expression of how important your husband is to you, do your best to look nice when he comes home from work. The curls that they all wear, those long sort of curls, anyways, the long curls are a Bill Gothard thing. Draw attention to your countenance. So learn which colors complement your skin tones. Concentrate on these colors while selecting your wardrobe. Manage your weight on the basis of 5 scriptural truths. Your body is made in the image of God. Your body is the temple of the Holy Spirit. Your body is a member of the body of Jesus Christ. The members of your body become instruments of righteousness by yielding them to God. If you lack inward godliness and outward neatness and modesty, your husband can lose respect for you and more easily be tempted by women. So if you don't stay thin and have a meek spirit where you are constantly agreeable, you don't expect anything for your husband, and you maintain neatness and your personal expression is good, then your husband won't cheat on you. But if you do those things, then that's why your husband's cheating on you, or that's why your husband's looking at stuff online, which is why they can always go back to infidelity being the fault of the woman. Well, you weren't taking care of your appearance. You weren't neat. You weren't satisfying him in bed. You weren't doing these different things that you should have been doing. And there's one other one I wanted to show you guys. Okay, and this one's about physical intimacy. So these are some of the characteristics. Respect your husband, it says. But this is sort of how these people like Josh manifest, and this is why people like Anna don't leave. So it says, praise your husband. So these are specific roles. Praise your husband for godly character and abilities to see in his life. Do not focus on faults, but rather on positive qualities. Trust God to provide for your family's financial needs through your husband's leadership. Support your husband's ideas and become actively involved in implementing his goals for your lives. Respond to your husband's physical affection. So this is the part where they say you must be joyfully available and you cannot say no. So if you're not in the mood, you can't say no. This is what they say. Husbands and wives should willingly embrace God's intention for their intimacy within the marriage covenant. Let husbands render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise also the wife unto the husband. The wife hath not power over her own body, but the husband, and likewise the husband hath no power over his body but the wife. Defraud ye not one of the other, except it be with the consent for a time, and ye may give ourselves to fasting and prayer and come together again. It says a man needs his wife's admiration. If you show lack of respect for your husband's decisions, or if you resist his affection, he will doubt his ability to meet your needs. He may be drawn to other women who demonstrate more respect and appreciation for him. So your body does not belong to you. It belongs to the husband. Now they say it goes both ways, but when you understand that their power dynamic in this cult makes it so that the woman doesn't have a 50% say, his body belonging to hers is irrelevant, really. So it basically says your body belongs to him. You have to give it to him if you don't want to. And if you don't do it enough, that's why he's cheating. Or he's going to find someone else that's going to do it for you more. And this is why I have for my merch, Joyfully Unavailable. It is a protest to this idea that women must submit and give their husbands what they want and be effectively emotionally abused into believing that they can't say no. And that if they do say no, it's justified then that their husband cheats. So basically how the rules are designed for women is everything that they do or don't do can happen and impact what the husband does. And so if a husband stumbles, and that's what they would call, or has a moral failure, like what Josh Duggar has had, they are going to look at Anna and say, Anna, what have you done? Have you kept a neat appearance? Have you gained weight? Have you been giving him what he wants in the house, in the room? Are you always positive? Do you have a good attitude? It's a lot of standards that are made on the woman, and it's not the same for a man. It's just a complete and utter, it's inequity. Emmy says, I remain joyfully dirty. Me too. All right, so let's see. Oh, and for our, I guess this will be, I had so much today for you, and I didn't even get through half of it. So maybe we'll do another live tonight. If not, later, I don't know. But I wanted to show you one more thing. And this is actually another video. And this actually is the Duggars. And this was after everything that happened with Josh in 2015. And I just want to kind of show you. All right, let's give me. They did this speech at the Institute in Basic Life Principles at a conference.
Go to the ends of the world to share the gospel. And I pray that this will be contagious for each one of the families here. Well, the last 4 months has been kind of intense for our family. I guess you've read about it in the newspapers or seen it on TV, but we've gone through a lot of trials, and it's been because of the poor choices of our oldest son, Josh. But the good news is that through all these trials, God has really drawn our family very close together. And I want to tell you, God's principles work. It's just
So God's principles work. What Josh has done has made them closer as a family.
Family, we are so grateful for that.
They pray.
These are the verses for any of
our son Josh was one of like 30 some million people. There's like 20 million men that were on that list that was exposed to the public. And Joshua was the poster child for this whole secret adultery website. And even in Arkansas, we had many people who were businessmen.
Okay, so Josh Duggar was one of the men on there, but I wouldn't necessarily have called him a poster child because huge celebrities were also on there. He definitely made a splash, but this idea that like his name in and of itself in that scandal was the only one released is not true. There was other more well-known celebrities that were leaked as a part of that. I think Charlie Sheen was in that. And I would believe that when it comes down to fame at that time, which I think 2.5 Men was on at the time, I think Charlie Sheen is a little bit more, famous.
There were 2 current state representatives that were on that list. One guy that had been the Supreme Court Justice in Arkansas. There were people throughout the United States. There were over 400 pastors and youth ministers that resigned the week after this came out. And, the truth is that almost every man has had struggles with lust at one time or another. And
look at him trying to justify this. Every man has had struggles with lust at one time or another. Jim Bob, not every man joins a website that allows you to cheat. Not every man creates multiple site profiles on multiple dating apps and then meets up with these women and has trysts with them. Not every man goes to a club and pays women for what he wants.
It's whether we feed that monster or not. And there was a Indian that became a Christian back several years ago, and someone said, well, how is it being a Christian? And he said, it's like 2 dogs that are fighting inside of me. And they said, well, which one wins? And he said, whichever one I feed. And if we allow Satan to take over the control of just a little area of our life, he will take over more and more and more. And we'll become a slave to sin. And so through this process, through what happened with Josh, we have really become more serious about our faith. And
so instead of actually getting like therapy and help or, saying, Anna, you can divorce Josh, they're just going to go more to God. And they're going to explain that adultery is sin and that therefore it's Satan that caused this to happen. It's like their way of like removing responsibility from Josh because Satan is the one that made him do it. Satan's the one that's gotten to him. Satan is the one that's in his heart. God is not in his heart. And so all they have to do in their cult is guard the heart and get that heart back to God. So if they can get Satan out of his heart, he'll stop those bad behaviors. Can you imagine a therapist providing that information to somebody sitting down in therapy and say cognitive behavioral therapy and saying, all you have to do is just pray more? I mean, it's so simplistic and they think this is like the answer for everything.
And just even our sons that have phones and computers and all that, we've really tried to tighten all this down. And yes, we need to have God control, self-control, but yet we also don't want to have provisions for the flesh to fulfill the lust thereof. And so I think it's very important for each one of us as men here who are the spiritual leaders of our home if we allow a hole in our umbrella, Satan will come in and will attack our family. And there's many times that I've seen things or whatever throughout my life, and I think about those holes in my umbrella that have attacked my family. And I just would encourage each one of us men to repent. Do
you know what I think is always interesting about Jim Bob? And I think a lot of these sort of like evangelical people that like to provide help to people is that they love to talk about like they have holes or they have lust issues or they have it, but they never specify what the problem is. And they will always talk about other people. And Jim Bob has never said like what his issues are. And I think that's where people feel really conflicted about like, what is it that he is doing? What are his issues? What is his contribution? What is the example that he has set for his boys? Was there issues where he was cheating? Were there issues with his own, was his own behavior? Like, what was Jim Bob doing in the home where the boys had this kind of free will, attitude? He has an idea for his daughters that they're very tightly controlled. He doesn't have the same controls for his sons. And imagine, mind you, in 2015, Josh was 27 years old and Jim Bob is taking his phone away from him. A 27-year-old man who had 4 children and his son and his dad takes his phone from him. Imagine your dad at 27 being like, you can't have your phone.
ask God to forgive us for not being the spiritual leaders that we are supposed to be, and allowing Satan even to come in and sly ways into our family. It could be through television, it could be through the internet, it could be through allowing our kids to be around friends maybe that are wrong influences, or going places or doing things that aren't really wholesome. Maybe even movies or anything that we watch that maybe are a bad influence on our family. Each one of us as parents to give our children a safe place to share their heart. Kids were young, I would blow up in anger. One day I walked in and the boys had got some spray paint and spray painted the garage floor, and they thought they were helping. But I blew up in anger, and just many times I would respond the wrong way. And yet I expected them in a situation to respond the right way. And then we came to one of the conferences in Knoxville, and I heard a father speak about how he had an anger problem. And you start getting this focus on girls, and it's just like it starts consuming you. But when you fast, it takes that focus off the girls and puts it on food. And so that's not a bad thing, because you start denying yourself of something you want, and you learn self-control. And so he said that's one of the most powerful things that's helped him. And if any of them had struggles even throughout the week, they said, Dad, I think I need to fast today.
Okay, so when his boys have lustful thoughts, they make them fast. Think of that. Think of that. They're literally being boys thinking about girls, and he says, I'm going to withhold food from you so that you stop thinking about girls. That's not even remotely okay. I'm going to withhold food, which is a requirement that I give to you as a parent, so that you don't actually look at girls. Who thinks that will actually work? Anyone in chat think that would actually work?
So many of them have fasted even 1, 2, 3 days on their own throughout the week. And so it's a voluntary thing, but it's something that they said has really helped them. And I was thinking about the story where there was a man who had a son.
So as children who are growing up in adolescence and thinking about girls and thinking about just normal hormonal things, having normal feelings, are made to feel it's wrong. And he says that the kids are doing this in their own free will. I don't believe that. I believe that at this point they've been taught and trained to be obedient. And I feel like a suggestion is made by Jim Bob that this is what you should do. This is the discipline. 3 days without food. They always say that the kids choose to do these things on their own, but that's because they've trained their children from the time that they were babies to listen to them, to obey them, to do everything that they say. So they make it seem like it's their idea, but it's not.
He brought him to Jesus, and he said, Master, he said, my son has been going and following you down into fires, and he's been full of sensuality. It's on phones, it's on computers, it's on even cars now have digital displays, all these advertisements everywhere. And we must find tools to go and to conquer this in our own lives. And it starts with us as dads, being the men that God wants us to be. And sometimes, there's sometimes single moms, they have to really just be the strong one to encourage their kids. And my mom was really kind of like the spiritual leader in my home because my dad didn't take that.
Oh, Carrie Sutherland, who knows him, says he's a horrible man. The last I spoke to him in 2019, when former church members gave him my number to counsel me, I didn't recognize his number and I answered, he's still a creepy man. I got off my phone quickly. Good to know.
Role. But she encouraged me and she prayed for me and she invested in my life. And I went on to seek the Lord. And so I pray for each one of you that this week you will have that spiritual focus. And the internet, we do have internet, but we have filters and we have a big computer screen in our living room that if the kids want to get on it, the girls can type in a password and then the kids can get on it. Usually it's like 2 at a time sitting there. And just be very careful. That is like a dangerous snake or dangerous lion that's roaring, running around roaring and seeking who it's may devour.
So the problem with the Duggars is they do everything in extremes. They don't teach their children like proper boundaries on the internet. They don't teach them about the world. So everything is bad. Like if you actually just sat down with your children and were like, these are the things when you're online that you should be paying attention to. You should not be interacting with these people or that people. But the problem is they feel like if they eliminate all the bad things that happen in their lives, somehow it's going to make it so that the bad things don't happen to them. It's like they want to find a way to make life be perfect, but you can't actually make life perfect. So if you remove the internet, then we're not going to have these feelings. If you're having these feelings, then I'm going to make you fast for 3 days. It's just ridiculous. So that's kind of where we're at with the Duggars. Their answers to everything: pray, fast, and don't let your kids be on the internet, and control your adult children's internet usage. They still have placed covenant eyes on all of their adult children's phones. Michelle last year literally admitted that she is the accountability partner for her adult children. She knows what her adult children who are single and not married are doing online all the time because she gets a report and she finds out what her adult children are doing. The lengths that they go through for control and to, it's sick. It's very sick. Anyway, let's end this here. We're at 1 hour and 20 minutes. I do want to thank you guys so much for your time today. I might be back later with more. I have so much more that was in my folder that I just didn't even get a chance to get, but Josh Duggar has been released. They believe that it's been planted on his computer to thwart Sarah Huckabee Sanders' run for governor. And Gil Bates is a misogynistic asshole, and Jim Bob makes his sons fast so that they don't think girls are cute. And he just takes away internet access and makes them all be controlled by the internet. You have become one of my favorite YouTubers. Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. So I have a lot more on this cult that we can go over. I have been covering this cult for years, and I'm just, I just want to say thank you that in one breath, it's horrible what Josh Duggar has done, but in another breath, I think this is giving us an opportunity to actually put a microscope on what these people are doing and have a larger conversation about the dangers of this group and why it's important that they not have a platform on national television to recruit into their cults. Because the reason why the IBLP gives the Duggars and the Bates a pass, because members in the IBLP are discouraged from having social media presences. They are given a pass by the IBLP leadership because they believe that they're using their platforms to minister people into the cult. So when you're watching something that you think is innocuous and sweet and cute, and it's the Bates and it's the Duggars, remember that the goal here for these families is to recruit you to join their cult, to pay for classes, to pay for their videos, their seminars, their homeschool curriculum. It's all like this racket almost in a way to make you convert and become a customer to the IBLP. And it's a strategic marketing way that they're doing it, because they're giving you a watered down version that's not the truth. It's not the reality. It's not how these people are in real life. The Bates are not who you see on TV. The Duggars are not who you see on TV. The practice of how they live is not how you see on TV. It's much more complex. It's way darker. It's a lot more scary, and it's not a good place to raise children. It's not a safe place for women. And honestly, it's not a safe place for men. No man should feel like they have unyielding power, because that puts a man in a prime place to become a perpetrator without even having tendencies to be a perpetrator. So people that neither wouldn't have otherwise offend or hurt people are justified and almost encouraged because they can do anything. Yes, it's a lot like Scientology. Actually, the auditing, I'm told, that they do in Scientology is a lot like how they counsel the various aspects in the IBLP. And I want to just note to you that this all started in the same time frame as when Scientology came out, and a lot of these other like Life Landmark Forum and ESP. There was all these little self-help things that grew out of the same time period. And the IBLP was founded, I think, in the late 1960s by Bill Gothard. All right, so we'll continue doing this dive on all of this, and I'm glad to have all of you here interested, having your ears. If you have comments, questions, or concerns, make sure that you let me know. Follow me on Instagram at Without a Crystal Ball. Sometimes I go live on Instagram. I get a little sassy on Instagram. That's just who I am. I'm a sassy girl, and I have a lot to say, and I'm really tired of this cult. And so I'm going to say what I have to say, but I also am open to hearing from you. If you are a survivor, if you are from this world and you just want to share your story, feel free to contact me, and I'll be back later with more, guys. Bye.